So right now we're going to be discussing managing your cost of living and spending. We have a series of financial literacy webinars going on. This is the second series. We're going to be talking about, let's see here, needs versus wants, fixed and variable expenses. We're going to be finding some of your money that you guys are spending out there. We have a little budget sample going on, and then kind of tips and tricks on saving the money that you guys found. So let's go over here. So my first question to you guys, now usually when I do this webinar, usually this webinar is going to be typically a workshop face-to-face and everything like that. I usually like to make it interactive, ask a little bit of questions, kind of have a little discussion going. So some of the questions I'm going to have here, hopefully you guys can answer some of them, make it a little bit more fun and enjoyable. If for anything you guys have any questions or any comments, you can put them in the chat box. We have Dawn kind of moderating all the questions here and everything, and then we will also get to them kind of near the end of the presentation. If for any reason that there's a disconnect with the webinar and all that, there's a reconnect button on the top screen. You can click that, and then it'll bring you back to the webinar. Okay, so the first question that I have here is, what is your earliest money memory? So thinking back, your early experiences often shape your life more than most people think. So thinking back, what was your first interaction with money like ever? Like how old were you when you first, I guess you could say, held money or made a transaction with money, giving somebody money in exchange for a product kind of thing? If you could think back to like how old you were or what were you doing at that time. My earliest money memory that I have, I remember going to the mall with my grandfather, and he had seen a friend and he wanted to talk to him. So what he did was he gave me a little toonie there, and he's like, go buy the Nevada tickets. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I must have been like 8 or 9, and I'm trying to go and give this lady a toonie, and I'm pointing at the Nevada tickets that I want, and then she's giving me back the money. I'm like, okay, no, I'll give it back to you. Give me the Nevada tickets. And she gave it back to me. And it was kind of like a back and forth for a little bit until she finally explained to me I was too young to be able to buy this. So I'm like, oh, okay, you don't want my money. So I went to go talk to my grandfather again. He was done having his conversation that he had kind of shooing me away from. And I said, I'm too young to buy this. He's like, oh, okay, so here we go. Let's go get some after. So that's one of the memories that I have in terms of like exchange of funds for something like a product or a service or something like that. I always find it funny because I was kind of denied that product, but given the age factor and everything like that, that's why I kind of think of it as like a funny memory for myself. Hi, Agnes. Thanks for joining us. So the other questions that I have on here are basically like, where does your money go? Like if you kind of put some thought into everything that you do on a daily basis, where do you think your money goes? So the other question that I have on here is, what would happen if you didn't know how to manage your money? So what would happen if one day you're trying to purchase something and the card doesn't go through, or you're out of cash, kind of thing? Do you know, can you honestly say that you knew where your money went in the last couple of days prior to that, where you didn't have any money to spend? Or are you so knowledgeable in kind of understanding your budget by now that you're financially stable enough to kind of say, I know where my money is going? Okay, so we're going to be talking about these topics as well, kind of going forward with discussing your needs and your wants, kind of thinking like what money is coming in for you, what money is going out, do you know exactly what your bills are, what you're spending on, and all that fun stuff. So my first question here, as part of the topic, needs versus wants. So can anybody tell me what a need is? And can somebody else tell me what a want is? Some of those are kind of like obvious in the sense that growing up, we do kind of know, do you really need that item when you're purchasing it? Is it part of like for you to live, or is it just a want for you at that time, like an impulse buy kind of thing? Okay, so right now, let's go here. So a need is something you can't live without. So I have listed down here food, shelter, clothing, education. Is there anything else here that is not on the list that should be on the list? Now, if you want, you can be interactive with me and then kind of enter like your little responses in the chat and everything like that. Or you can kind of just think of in the back of your mind and all that. So we need food, obviously. We need shelter. We need clothing, like the basic clothing. Going more in depth in that, do you really need the branded clothing, right? During the pandemic times right now, especially when the pandemic started, we started almost in between seasons. So around that time, we were wearing winter boots still, right? And then everything started getting wet. So you needed rain boots. And if you didn't have rain boots, or if you have children and their feet grow constantly, you need to find a way to go get the rain boots, right? So it's always hard to kind of get these items, especially when the stores were closed during the pandemic. So I had to find alternative ways. Spending kind of in the family is not really so much about brands as more as convenience. So I was able to just go to Walmart and kind of get the sizes that I thought my children would need for their boots and stuff. And as the pandemic kept going, it got even warmer and warmer. So they either needed flats or like flip-flops. So I had to go get those again. It wasn't so much getting the brands that people are going to be seeing or the brands that you're comfortable with. It's more of getting the actual product that you need at that time, instead of kind of spending the extra dollars on something else. Okay. And then once we have here, basically something that you would like to have or that you would love to have, making your life comfortable, convenient, or having fun with it, right? So a lot of the wants that I can think of off the top of my head would be takeout. I mean, it is food, but at the same time, you can get the same food at the grocery store and make it yourself for a lot less cost. We also have like the extra clothing that we probably do not need, or the extra shoes that we would like to buy but do not need at the same time. Vacations, if you don't like to just stay home, you'd rather go on a vacation or something, those things are kind of wants as well. And like that. So in order to kind of know how to budget and then how to kind of take care of the income that you get and then expenses that you're putting out, it is time for kind of like a personal reflection on the actual transactions that you do. So here I have a little exercise, kind of a review of a 2-week time frame. Now I chose 2 weeks because the month is too long. Getting that information might be too overwhelming. And then 1 week is just kind of too short. So I chose, it's May 28th today. So between May 14th and May 28th, I went and did a little personal audit of my online banking account. I wanted to see what I personally spent between these 2 specific weeks. So between May 14th and May 28th, I went out and I made a little chart. So here, obviously we have rent to pay or a mortgage to pay, depending on when we pay that. We also have bills. We know usually when they're due and all that. Tim Hortons runs, if you feel like getting a coffee or a tea in the morning or anything like that. Online purchases, I believe a lot of online purchasing has been happening a lot lately, given that we can't go to the stores. There's a lot of takeout as well. And then kind of questioning yourself, like, what else did you spend on? So that could just be anything from like, I don't know, purchases for, like if you spend something with using cash or something like that. Obviously you pulled out cash and you're spending it on something. And then there's also money transfers to family, or you're buying gifts for somebody. So usually those little things add up to a lot. So kind of putting it into perspective, visually seeing what you've spent on kind of gives you more knowledge in terms of what you're going to be more mindful of when you're spending or when you're saving, kind of thing. And then that'll kind of build the bridge for you for when you do want to start saving more comfortably. So let's go here. So in the last 2 weeks, between May 14th and May 28th, personally, I've made 47 transactions, okay? Now let's kind of outline the transactions that I have listed here. On the screen here, I have paid about 8 bills. I made 3 transactions to a savings account or savings accounts. Says 7 times I went grocery shopping, but let's just say I go once a week, but I go at least 3 transactions, so each time, okay? Miscellaneous items were basically items like maybe money transfers to somebody, or I sent money for as a gift or something like that. Online shopping, where I believe I purchased summer clothes, specific summer clothes that were on sale for the kids because the stores aren't open yet. I believe I bought clothes for myself. Kind of not so. Oh, I can if I want. I can spend my money on myself. That's fine. I kind of feel guilty. I'd rather spend money on the kids. There's a lot of takeout in there. Kind of throwing myself under the bus here, but that is exactly the reality of kind of knowing what you're spending, right? So does anybody who is in attendance right now for the webinar, do you kind of know what you're spending on? Like, can you personally pull up your 2-week transactions and say, I've spent money on these, I've spent money on this, maybe I should have spent more on savings? Asking yourself questions and then kind of seeing the results in front of you does give you, I guess you can say, a mindset of like where you could be more mindful in your spending. I also have memberships in there. That's everything from like Netflix. We have Amazon Prime. We have Disney Plus as well. And then all those other little channels because we only have the basic cable and all that. Personal necessities. And then I have in there a pet because we have a fish that we look after. Okay, so kind of taking everything that you have, and it could be a few transactions, it could be not a few transactions kind of thing. It really kind of lays it out in front of you, and then you can't deny it because you're the one spending that money, right? So kind of seeing the transactions, it's very, I guess you can say it's a wake-up call, which is very good. The next thing that I had done with this, actually, I kind of distributed between the needs and the wants. So basically all of the purchase and payments that I've kind of done personally, I split them between needs and wants. So I've done the needs, which are basically all the bills, like the rent and then the hydro gas, heat and all that. We also have groceries in there. I put a little bit in savings. So savings is what I was discussing prior, where it was savings for education. Whether you start early or you start late, the savings is always going to be in there for that. I put gas and needs because I need gas to get where I need to go. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not. It really is up to you and what you feel or what you see in terms of how you feel, which ones are necessity to you and which ones aren't. And then personal necessities is for there as well. Now for the wants, I believe those were miscellaneous. I think they were like purchases of like fishing hooks. And then I sent like a gift to a close friend of mine. There's takeout in there, and then the online shopping as well. The memberships, obviously, we don't need Disney Plus and Netflix all the time. If we can cut that off, we could too. You know what I mean? And then pet, the pet needs to live too, right? So it could be a need at the same time, depending on who we're talking about. Okay, so from there, it kind of goes into the type of expenses that we have. So from what I have in terms of the expenses that I kind of just laid out from the personal reflection, there's fixed expenses, variable expenses, and other expenses. So fixed expenses are the ones that do not change in total over the course of the year. They're kind of like the same payment amount every single time that you pay, like a rent or a mortgage would be something like that. If you do equal billing for your bills, that would be something that would be a fixed amount. Same with like a car payment or something. The variable expense is basically a payment that could change month to month, depending on the use of the consumption that you have and how it's calculated by your utility provider or your bill provider. Those ones can be like, it could potentially be a cell phone bill, depending on if it's like a per use, or it could also be the amount of gas that you spend in a month on the vehicle, the groceries as well. For us, we usually have a budget of how much we're going to be spending, but I kind of go over that a little bit sometimes because I like to buy what I want. And then the other expenses that we have here, they kind of don't fall within the fixed or the variable because sometimes they pop up not every month. They'll pop up maybe every couple of months. So those ones are kind of like birthdays, holidays, seasonal items, extracurricular activities. I do like to remind people, though, that there are certain holidays that do come once a year all the time and at the same time. So having and knowing that kind of and instilling that when you're actually budgeting ahead of time, that would definitely help you. It would definitely help you with making sure that there's no shortfall for you during that time, especially when it comes to seasonal clothes. If you're doing like a little cleanup of like old, smaller clothes and you need to buy new ones, or the extracurricular activities, maybe for yourself or for your children. Hockey is definitely an expensive one that needs to be pre-planned throughout the year, and stuff like that. Okay. So going next here, we have clothes, eating out, groceries, all the variable kind of costs, technology and entertainment, especially the daily spending habits. It really depends on how often you go to a Tim Hortons drive-through and kind of get your tea or coffee, or if you're going to a Starbucks, and all that. So it's just, it really depends on what your personal spending habits are, and if you're willing to kind of make sacrifices and adjust them a little bit based on habit. Okay. So now we have a little exercise here. This is one where I kind of reflected on. I like to bring this to presentations because you like to find money, right? And we always want to find money. There's always that old method where you forget that you have money, you have cash in your purse, you forget you have cash in an old jacket that you stashed away. But what about the money that you spend unknowingly? Like you're just spending it. It kind of just comes, it's kind of just going out. You're not really sure where it goes, kind of thing. Spending cash is kind of like that, where you don't really have an accurate transaction of where it went. You just know that you spent it. Okay, so do you know how much money you can find by calculating what we spend on a daily or a weekly basis? Now, personal story, when I was in university, you don't really get the salary kind of every 2 weeks kind of thing. You get like a once a month kind of payment, and then you have to budget your money throughout the weeks kind of till the next payment comes kind of thing. So there was a lot of that going on in university, right? So we didn't really have entertainment money to go and eat out whenever we wanted. We didn't have like to go to the movies or anything like that. So what we did, there was a Tim Hortons at the university. So whenever I sat down and kind of getting ready to go and kind of study or wait for class or something, I'd go and put all my things away and then kind of sneak over to the Tim Hortons, and then I'd purchase a large tea, basically in the morning. And then later on in the afternoon, maybe around 2, 3 o'clock, if I'm still in class or if I'm in between classes, okay, I want a tea again. So I'll go and I'll purchase another tea. In evenings, like I said, there was really no entertainment. So we'd go and like do like drives around Thunder Bay or something like that. We'll go out and grab a tea then as well. So with that, I noticed when I was looking into my bank account, I would notice like Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons. It was just all these transactions of Tim Hortons. And I'm just like, how much is this money? Where is this money going? So this was around the time too, large was the biggest size, and then extra large came into the picture. And that's when I got really excited because I like big cups of tea. Okay, so I believe it was about $2.10 at the time when the extra larges started coming out. And I was really excited. I was really pumped to be going to class with my extra large tea and everything. So I kind of made like a little kind of calculation of how many times I spent that money in a certain day, then kind of multiplied it by the week to see how much I spent. I believe that particular month when I was calculating it, it was about $160 that I had spent just on purchasing tea at the university alone. Because I was there basically morning, noon until like early evening, and then I get home and then I have to kind of do all the home chores and everything like that. So I didn't really have a kettle or tea bags on hand to kind of go and make my own tea somewhere. So I chose the convenience to buy my teas. So finding that money was basically kind of like an aha moment for me, because I was thinking, wow, I'm spending a lot of money on this and it's not really going anywhere. It's not really paying anything for me. So what are the benefits, or what are the consequences for this? So basically what I had done, I made like a little simple Tim Hortons scenario here that we have. Basically, you list an item that you spend daily. You kind of add the approximate cost of that item, and then you calculate how much it'll cost you utilizing that item in a month. So I chose a little Tim Hortons scenario here based on my experience of spending $160 a month on Tim Hortons. An actual our Steve tea once a day, 5 days a week. What is that monthly cost? So we kind of go into the calculation of the daily cost. So it's $2.20 right now. You're spending $2.20 a day. That's fine. We kind of go into the weekly cost of it, say 5 days a week. I'm getting Tim Hortons every morning on my way to work, okay? That's $11 a week. And then when we go on to calculating it for the whole month, you want to multiply it by 4.33. So when we're doing that, the total cost per month is $47.63. Now to me, especially my little aha moment with the tea and the Tim Hortons and everything like that, that is a very expensive box of tea bags. I started refusing to purchase Tim Hortons tea based on this realization that I was having somebody make me tea kind of thing all the time to be able to just to have my tea, when I can buy a whole big box of tea bags at home, make my tea, put it in like a tumbler cup kind of thing, and then just be on my way. So that was my aha moment that I kind of carry around all the time, and that is something I'm going to be teaching my children as well. So based on who we have here that is attending the webinar right now, if you really think about how much you purchase, what you purchase in a day and how much it costs you a month, like how much money could you find? The purchases that you're doing right now, are they a want or a need, or are they an impulse buy? So if you really think about it, are they a natural habit for you to go to a Tim Hortons and kind of get you your tea before you kind of go and do something like an errand, or before you're on the way to work or something? Now, for me, when I kind of reflected on this, it was a lot around the time I was just close to graduating university. I was on my way to finishing the courses and everything, and I was trying to find ways where I can cut time, save time, basically, cut out certain things that take too much of my time so I can be able to go and study. One of these things, it just happened to be the Tim Hortons thing at the same time. I decided to stop going to Tim Hortons to save me time. So instead of me sitting down, setting up everything, going to grab a Tim Hortons and coming back within 5 or 10 minutes, not only did that save me cash when I stopped doing that, it saved me time. So there are times when I do kind of plan to go to Tim Hortons, like I'm going to get a tea today. I'm going to grab a tea before I go to work or something. I'm going to treat myself. So I'm on my way, and I'm like probably thinking of something as I'm driving down the road, and then I'm driving past the Tim Hortons, and I'm like, oh, I was going to go turn and grab a tea, and then I was like, oh, never mind, maybe I'll go to the next one. And it just wasn't convenient to kind of go to the next one, because you would have to turn off a road or something. And that was when I was it's not a habit for me anymore to kind of go off and spend that money somewhere else. And then kind of going back to the activity where I was trying to get to work or trying to do that errand, right? So it's little mindful tactics like that that kind of save you not only money, but it can save you time. So with the money that you found, so for this example, we saved what, $47.63. The money that I found when I was in university was about $160. What are you going to spend it on? Are you going to spend it on something, or are you going to save it for something? Now that $160, when I realized, like, that could have paid a whole, like, a bill, that could have paid a cable bill, part of the insurance or something. That's a really big monetary, I would say that's a big monetary savings in order for us to kind of move forward with understanding the income, understanding the expenses, and then understanding what we're spending on. So now we're kind of going into what is called the B word, budget. Budget is basically like the money that you know that you have coming in, the money that you know that has to go out, and then kind of balancing the remaining amount. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to spend it on something that you need? Or are you going to save it for something that you want? Or, you know what I mean? So just it's something where you kind of get that mindful kind of knowledge, you're bringing it forward and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do with this? So basically, what is a budget? My colleague last week kind of demonstrated the budget, the income and the expenses of everything. What is a budget? Why do we budget? So it's just basically an easier way to keep track of your money, basically a summary of the income that you bring in, and then basically a tool to tell you how much money you have, how much you need, or how much you're going to be spending on, right? How much of the stuff that you're spending on. It's a plan to help you manage your money, and it's basically a plan for the future. If you're kind of changing your habits a little in a positive way for your budget, then you're basically on the right track. No budget is ever perfect. Obviously, there's going to be some snags in the road where I don't feel like putting money towards this right now. Maybe I'm going to go out and treat the whole family to something instead. We need to get out, kind of thing. So just kind of being flexible with your budget is also an excellent way to kind of keep your mind grounded a little bit, in terms of it's not all about the whole entire savings and the bigger picture. It's mainly about like the now and what's going on as well. So we're kind of going into like why we're budgeting, being more aware of what you spend your money on, finding areas where you can spend less and save more, taking control of your finances and feeling more confident, especially after the Tim Hortons scenario that I was describing, especially in university, saving time and money. I felt more in control of what my finances were after that, kind of saying, okay, I'm not really spending it on certain things that I really don't need. I can make tea at home and bring it in my own travel mug. That's fine. So it does give you a lot of confidence. It does give you the mindfulness of your spending as well, and then of your savings. You get to take control. You pay your bills on time and you avoid any late fees. You reduce your stress around money, because money is a big stressor, because you don't want to fall into like any negative balances in terms of not paying a certain bill on a certain time, kind of thing, or missing a bill just because you forgot about it. So it does happen to the best of us sometimes, and that's fine. You just need to kind of make sure that when you do the budget, you got to make sure that everything is listed properly. If you need to, kind of understanding all the expenses, and never leave anything out, because that falls on accountability as well. You got to make sure that you know that everything's in front of you is everything that your name is on. And that kind of leads into the whole collections that we're going to have another series of the financial literacy aspect on. So basically, when you're making your budget, we have the income aspect of it. So you're listing your income. You're listing every ounce of income that you have coming in, whether it's your salary, it could be the government benefits, the Canada Child Benefit. We also have the Ontario Trillium Benefit, that's GST, any other income if you have self-employment income. So basically listing all your income sources. If you want, you go a little bit further, you can list the dates that these income sources are coming on as well. Using a full month calendar can really help see that visual. And then you're kind of listing your expenses, right? We have here housing expenses, transportation expenses, we have living expenses, and personal. So the housing expenses are almost going to be the fixed expenses that we were talking about. The rent or mortgage never going to change. We also have the heat or the hydro, cable, internet. If you're on equal billing, you will know exactly what you're paying every month. Same with the car. Not sure about the gas. Obviously, it's based on consumption, so that's variable as well, right? Anything related to your living expenses, like with food, like I had mentioned, we have a set amount that we spend every week, or that we would like to spend every week. I kind of go over just because I want to, but it's not like I'm going over a massive amount and I'm buying things that are just not supposed to be there. It's stuff that you know you're going to use anyways, right? It's basically all up to your personal preference. Clothing and laundry, childcare, loan payments, anything outstanding as well, takeouts and all that. So listing everything that you know that you are going to be spending is one of the crucial parts of understanding your budget. So what do you think that you're going to be saving for? Like, have you kind of come up with a goal that you wanted to save for, or do you kind of have like a short check of this, the other downside kind of thing if you have a negative balance? So you kind of would really need to revise your budget. Take out something, let's say take out something out of your expenses that you can sacrifice for that month in exchange a hold on the income that you have coming in, and then the expenses that you know that are going to go out, regardless of if you pay them or not, they're expenses. You want to make sure that the balance that you have left over is enough cushion for you to be able to have a little bit of spending money, but at the same time have a little bit put into savings. Certain savings that we have, the reasons would be to buy large items. A vehicle is one, a house. We have surprise bills sometimes, or emergencies. The pandemic is a perfectly good example of that. We have more choices, so I guess more vacations if we wanted to, if we're allowed to travel this summer, or a new wardrobe, or if you're not allowed to travel this summer, and most people are kind of doing this right now, maybe buying a patio set so you can enjoy your backyard because you're not really going anywhere. Definitely saving something for retirement is one of the bigger ones that starting early definitely has its benefits when you really need it. Helping family whenever they need to, or well, like whenever they need, I guess, children's education. Like I said, if you're spending a little bit, if you start saving a little bit earlier, the longer that you save, it comes out as a big amount in the end, which definitely would help, as well as like less stress. You know that you have a little bit of cushion and a little bit of money there to be able to help you, and then you won't have to kind of panic and be in a panic mode when something happens like the pandemic. So the golden rule of saving is paying yourself first. One of the rules that I kind of follow is paying yourself or spending on yourself at least 10% of what you bring home. So whatever amount that your net pay is, 10% of that, go either spend it on something, or you can put a portion of that, save it, and then go spend a little bit on that. Some of the items that I like to kind of treat myself with, because I don't go as often, would be like Starbucks. And I'm not going to go as often anymore because my girls like to go to Starbucks with me. So that's going to be kind of like a secret mommy kind of alone trip right now, because I won't be able to afford buying their own if I keep spending money on them as well. Planning for a specific goal, especially, you're required to invest a little bit of your money as well, right in the beginning. So especially with the house, 5 to 20% down payment. If you're a first-time home buyer, it'll be 5%. A little bit more if you're going to be purchasing a house. Car depends on which dealership, who you're dealing with, what shopping you're doing, 5 to 10% down payment. And then if you're planning on starting a business, equity into the business. So you would need approximately 10 to 15% at NADF. Okay. So basically how to start small. Think of a small goal that you want to kind of save for. Try a forced saving technique. So right now I have opened like a savings account, or different types of savings account. And then I just kind of let my money in there, kind of just let it grow. It's a growing savings account. And then you don't touch it. It's just money that you rather just don't touch. You let it grow, sit in there, gather the interest that you need. If you don't want to do the bank account style type of thing, you can always pull out cash and just leave it in a jar somewhere, and don't mind that jar. Don't bother it. Leave it alone. Although it is not collecting as much interest as it would be in a actual business bank account. So it really is up to preference, just as long as you're not touching it. So kind of like tips for budgeting and all. So as I mentioned before, be flexible. Keep it very simple. Kind of know the money that you're bringing in. It's not going to be utilized for like one major thing. Just keep it simple. Pay your bills, pay a little bit of other items that you really need. Being realistic about your budget and kind of only purchasing and being and spending on what you really need at that time. Keeping track of every dollar that you spend. It will surprise you. Going back and looking at your transactions, like we did in the previous slides, that is one where you're going to be held accountable for everything that you've done, right? Definitely saving requires some trade-offs and sacrifices. So that way you're not overspending, right? You're budgeting for the unexpected. So that's a little bit of the savings that you're going to be starting a little bit when you kind of know your income and expenses and what the leftover is. Budget for the unexpected, because there is a lot of unexpected things happening lately, especially with the pandemic. We really don't know. And it's better to have that cushion of money just to kind of say, okay, just in case this happens, we will be set for this. Budget for large items that occur once a year. Again, like I said, holidays are a big thing. Birthdays obviously occur the same time every year. Think of like, keep in mind those items as well. We're May 28 now, going into June. We're almost halfway through the year. Keeping accurate records at the same time, kind of understanding. So certain items would be like the transactions that I've come up with from the bank account, but then I remembered I spent cash somewhere. I used a credit card for a certain purchase, so I had to throw that in there. Keeping accurate records and understanding which money that you're spending and where, that way you're not forgetting anything. And then kind of pulling it all together. So once your budget is complete and you can visually see where your money is going, how do you feel about that? So kind of going into the personal reflection of everything, I've kind of noticed that I spent a lot on takeout, not my highest moments there, but that's fine, right? Because I know, looking back into the last 2 weeks, I knew where my money went, and I didn't have to kind of go and ask somebody for a little bit of money, because I knew where my money went and I knew how much I had to spend. So I was confident in the amount and the balance that I had, where I could put into savings or something. Basically, it gives you accountability if you're looking for areas in your budget where you can cut back on your spending. You can look at the goals that you have to set for yourself to manage your spending and your savings as well. And then looking at kind of if you need to adjust the cost of living in order to achieve your specific goals. And then, are you willing to make the short-term sacrifices in order to reach them? So those are the things that you kind of have to keep in mind when you're setting a specific goal for yourself, especially when you're learning how to kind of keep your budget and then keeping your budget balanced, making sure that you have leftover funds to be able to put into savings. Okay, so that is our part 2 series of the financial literacy. Do we have any questions? Do we have any suggestions? Anybody want to discuss something? We can have questions now. So I have my contact information on this slide as well. The webinar is being recorded and it is going to be sent as a replay video. That way you have the slides in here as well to kind of refer back to. If you don't have any questions now, my email is on there, rjhunter@nadf.org. You can email me any questions that you have on a go-forward basis, anything related to NADF specific, I'll be happy to help you. Okay. How do I check my credit? Okay, so there is, what are they called? Equifax, and there are specific websites out there that will pull the information that you provided, given that you provide a credit card, or there is a specific way that you can obtain a free credit report. We have those papers on file at work. So if you do want a copy of that as well, you can email me and I can provide that for you. I believe it's Equifax that provides checking your credit score, checking your credit report. And then I believe I forgot what the other ones were, but if you do email me, there are websites that are available. I believe part 3 of our series does fall more on understanding your credit and all that. So more information will be coming up for that as well. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you.
All right, great presentation, Jamie. Yeah, and for those that attended, thank you for joining us. As Jamie mentioned, there are other webinars coming up, and those will be sent out via our email distribution list, as well as on our social media sites. So if you want to register for future ones, you can check that out, or also check out our website at www.nadf.org. Okay, well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.